Imagine waking up one day and discovering that the person you loved most destroyed everything. Your family, your friends, your entire clan. All dead. And the one responsible? Your own brother. This is the story of Sasuke Uchiha. But wait, what if I told you that everything you think you know about Itachi Uchiha is wrong? Itachi wasn't a villain. He didn't kill out of hatred, power, or madness. He killed out of love. A love so deep and painful that it became the greatest sacrifice Naruto has ever seen. In this video you'll discover the truth behind the Uchiha clan massacre. A truth that changed everything. A truth that transformed the villain into the greatest hero no one could have known. Get ready because this story will break your heart. And when it's over, you'll never look at Itachi the same way again. Before we continue, if you want to discover incredible stories like this, that stir your emotions and make you see the world differently, hit that subscribe button now. And leave a like too, because that really helps me bring you more content like this. Seriously, you won't want to miss what comes next. This Itachi story will completely change your understanding of sacrifice, love, and heroism. So subscribe and let's join us on this journey. It all began on a seemingly normal night in the Hidden Leaf village. Sasuke Uchiha, just 7 years old, was returning home after a day at the ninja academy. He was just a child, excited about training, wanting to become as strong as his older brother, Itachi. Itachi was everything to Sasuke. The perfect brother. A genius who became a Chunin at 10 and joined the ANBU at 13. Everyone in the Uchiha clan spoke of Itachi with pride. And Sasuke? He just wanted his brother's attention, wanted to train with him, to be recognized by him. But that night, when Sasuke arrived at the Uchiha clan compound, something was different. Strange. Too quiet. There was no one on the streets. No noise. Nothing. And then he saw it. Bodies. Everywhere. His father, Fugaku. His mother, Mikoto. Every member of the clan, dead. Blood everywhere. And in the middle of it all, a figure stood, calm as if nothing had happened. Itachi. Sasuke couldn't believe what he was seeing. His hero, his brother, had killed everyone. Everyone. In a single night, the entire Uchiha clan was wiped out. And the person responsible was the person Sasuke trusted most in the world. Why? Sasuke screamed, crying desperately. Why did you do this? And Itachi's response? Cold. Calculated. Cruel. To test my power. To measure my ability. The Uchiha clan stood in my way. Itachi activated the Mangekyo Sharingan and trapped Sasuke in a genjutsu. Tsukuyomi. The most terrible genjutsu in existence. For 72 hours in the illusionary world, Sasuke was forced to relive the massacre over and over again. He saw his family being killed. He saw Itachi killing everyone without a trace of emotion. When the genjutsu ended, Sasuke was destroyed. Mentally, emotionally, completely broken. And before he left, Itachi left one last message. You are weak. Always have been. If you want to kill me one day, hate me. Live with that hate. Grow strong with it. And when your eyes are like mine, come find me. And then, Itachi disappeared into the night. This was the version the whole world knew. Itachi Uchiha, the traitor. The brother who killed his own family. The criminal who joined the Akatsuki, an organization of dangerous renegade ninjas. A monster. Sasuke grew up with this hatred. Every day, every training session, every breath was fueled by the desire for revenge. He abandoned the village, betrayed his friends, and made pacts with dangerous people, all to gain enough power to kill Itachi. And years later, when Sasuke finally grew strong enough, he encountered Itachi. The battle was intense. Sasuke used everything he had learned, all the hatred he had held for years. And in the end, he won. Itachi lay on the ground, injured, drained of chakra, dying. Sasuke had succeeded. Revenge was complete. Or so he thought. Because it was there, in that moment, that the truth began to dawn. As Itachi took his final steps towards Sasuke, he didn't try to attack. Instead, he touched Sasuke's forehead with his fingers as he used to do when they were children and said, "I'm sorry, Sasuke, this is the last time." And then Itachi died. With a smile. Not of victory, not of malice. A smile of peace, of relief, as if a gigantic weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Sasuke didn't understand. Why did Itachi smile? Why did he apologize? Why, in his final moments, did he act like the kind brother Sasuke knew as a child? It was then that Obito Uchiha appeared. And he told Sasuke the truth. The complete truth. The truth that would destroy Sasuke in a completely different way. The Uchiha clan was planning a coup. They were dissatisfied with their treatment in the Hidden Leaf village. After the Kyuubi attack, the clan was blamed and isolated. They were forced to live in a separate part of the village, constantly watched and treated with suspicion. Fugaku, Itachi's father and clan leader, was organizing a rebellion. They were going to take control of the village by force. And that meant war. Civil war. Thousands dead. The village destroyed. And possibly other ninja villages attacking Konoha in this moment of weakness, which would result in a ninja world war. Konoha's leaders knew about the plan. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, wanted a peaceful solution. But Danzo, the leader of Root, wasn't taking any chances. He gave Itachi an impossible choice. Either Itachi would help massacre the Uchiha clan, preventing civil war and saving the village, or Danzo would do it anyway and kill Sasuke too. Itachi was 13. He was still practically a child. And he had to make the most impossible choice anyone could make. Save your little brother and the village, or save your clan and watch the world go to war. Itachi chose Sasuke. He would always be Sasuke. But Itachi's condition was clear. Sasuke had to survive. Sasuke had to live. And more than that, Sasuke needed a purpose, something that would keep him strong, that would make him grow, that would keep him from discovering the truth and self-destructing with guilt. So Itachi created the perfect lie. He became the villain. He took on all the hatred, all the guilt, all the darkness. He gave Sasuke a goal, revenge. And with that, Sasuke had a reason to live, to train, to become strong. Itachi joined Akatsuki not because he wanted to, but to spy on the organization from within and protect the village from potential threats. He lived like a criminal, hunted, hated, and considered a traitor by everyone. And for all those years, every time Itachi saw Sasuke, every cruel word, every attack, every moment of coldness, it was torture for him. Because Itachi loved Sasuke more than anything in the world. And he had to pretend otherwise. Itachi carried this secret alone. Completely alone. No one could know the truth. No one could comfort him. No one could say, "You did the right thing," or, "It wasn't your fault." He killed his own father and mother. And you know what's worse? They knew. Fugaku and Mikoto knew what Itachi was going to do. They knew he'd been given this impossible mission. On the night of the massacre, when Itachi entered the house and found his parents, they were waiting. Fugaku didn't try to fight. Mikoto didn't try to defend herself. They just sat there on their knees accepting their fate. Itachi's mother's last words were, "Don't be afraid, our son. This is the decision you have made. Just, please take care of Sasuke." And Fugaku, the proud and stern father, said something that broke Itachi inside. "You are too kind a son. I'm sorry for placing this burden on you. Whatever path you choose, I will always be proud of you." Itachi killed his own parents with trembling hands, crying inside but unable to show any emotion. Because if he wavered, if he showed weakness, everything would fall apart. After that, he had to kill uncles, aunts, cousins, childhood friends. People he'd known since childhood. People who trusted him. And each death was a part of his soul being destroyed. The only one who helped him that night was Itachi Uchiha, who had his own reasons. But even with help, Itachi carried the weight alone. The guilt, the pain, the regret, everything. And when the time came to confront Sasuke, Itachi had to do the hardest thing of all. Make his younger brother hate him. Make the 7-year-old, who only wanted attention and love, believe his brother was a monster. Itachi trapped Sasuke in Tsukuyomi and tortured him mentally precisely for this reason. He needed Sasuke to hate him so much, so deeply, that this hatred would become Sasuke's reason for living. Because Itachi knew that if Sasuke discovered the truth too soon, the boy wouldn't be able to cope. He would be consumed with guilt. So Itachi devised a long-term plan. Sasuke would grow strong, driven by revenge. And when he finally killed Itachi, Sasuke would be seen as a hero. The Uchiha boy who avenged his clan by killing the traitor. Sasuke would be accepted in the village, respected, loved. He would have a good life. This was Itachi's dream, to die at Sasuke's hands and give his brother a bright future. But the reality was more complicated. Because Itachi was sick. Very sick. He had a terminal illness that was slowly killing him. His lungs were failing, he was coughing up blood constantly, and his vision was getting worse and worse from overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi knew he didn't have much time. Maybe months, maybe weeks. And he needed to make sure Sasuke found him before the illness killed him. Because if Itachi died of illness, the whole plan would fall apart. Sasuke wouldn't get his revenge, wouldn't be seen as a hero, and worse, he would eventually discover the truth without being prepared. That's why Itachi provoked Sasuke. He showed up in the Hidden Leaf village with the Akatsuki, causing trouble, leaving clues. All to make Sasuke more obsessed, more determined to hunt him down. And it worked. Sasuke abandoned everything to seek power. He went to Orochimaru, one of the world's most dangerous villains, just to become stronger. He trained for years, absorbed Orochimaru, gathered a team and finally went after Itachi. The final battle between the two brothers was exactly what Itachi had planned. But it was also the most painful thing he had ever done. During the fight, Itachi was using medication just to stay on his feet. He was nearly blind, barely able to see Sasuke. Every attack he made was calculated not to kill Sasuke, but to push the boy to his limit, to force him to use his full power. Because Itachi's plan had another layer. Orochimaru had placed a cursed mark on Sasuke, and it was hidden inside him, waiting for the right moment to take over the boy's body. Itachi knew this, and he needed to remove Orochimaru from Sasuke before he died. So Itachi pushed Sasuke until the boy ran out of chakra. In that moment of weakness, Orochimaru began to emerge, trying to take control. And that's exactly when Itachi struck. He used a special technique, sealed Orochimaru away forever, and freed Sasuke from his influence. But doing so consumed Itachi's last remaining energy. He was at his absolute limit. His body was giving out. The illness, the injuries, the lack of chakra. Everything was fading away at once. And then came the moment that defined who Itachi truly was. Sasuke stood there, scared, confused, watching Itachi approach. The boy thought it was the end, that Itachi was going to take his eyes, kill him. But Itachi did nothing of the sort. He simply touched Sasuke's forehead with his fingers, like he had when they were children. It was the loving gesture he always made, his way of saying, "You are important to me," without using words. And whispered, "I'm sorry, Sasuke, this is the last time. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. I'm sorry for making you hate me. I'm sorry I couldn't be the brother you deserved. I'm sorry for everything." And then Itachi died. Standing, looking at Sasuke, a smile on his lips. A smile of peace. Because finally, after years of carrying this impossible weight, he could rest. He had protected Sasuke until the last second. He had removed Orochimaru. He had given Sasuke the victory that would make him a hero. His work was complete. But Itachi's body, which had been forcing itself to continue through sheer willpower alone, finally gave up. He fell forward, dead before he even touched the ground. Sasuke stood there, shocked, not understanding anything. Why did Itachi smile? Why did he apologize? Why was that last moment so gentle? And that's when Obito showed up and told him everything. Every detail. Every horrible truth. And Sasuke's world fell apart for the second time. The person he had hated his entire life was actually the person who loved him most. The person he swore to kill had sacrificed everything to protect him. The villain was the true hero. And the hero of Sasuke's revenge was actually a tragedy. Sasuke cried. For the first time since he was a child, he truly cried. Not from pain, not from anger, but from pure sadness. From regret. From loss. Because he had lost Itachi twice. First when he thought he was a monster. And now finding out who Itachi really was. But too late. Too late to say, "Thank you." Too late to say, "I understand." Too late to say, "I love you too, bro." Sasuke's pain transformed into something else. It was no longer revenge against Itachi. It was rage against the world that forced a 13-year-old boy to make such an impossible choice. Rage against the village that used Itachi and then discarded him. Rage against the system that creates invisible heroes who die hated by all. So what do you think so far? The story is heavy, right? Leave your comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to make a difficult sacrifice for someone you love? Do you know someone who sacrificed everything without receiving any recognition? Tell us, we want to hear your story. Your comments are super important and help me continue bringing you exciting content like this. So don't be shy, leave a comment. After discovering the truth, Sasuke was completely lost. Everything he believed, everything he had lived for years, was a lie. Or rather, it was a truth far more complicated than he ever imagined. Sasuke had two choices: honor Itachi's sacrifice and live the peaceful life his brother wanted for him, or seek justice for what was done to Itachi. And Sasuke, consumed by grief and rage, chose the latter. He swore to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. Not because he hated the village itself, but because it had used Itachi as a disposable tool. They forced a 13-year-old boy to slaughter his own family and then turned him into a criminal in the eyes of the world. Sasuke wanted everyone to feel the pain Itachi felt. He wanted the village to pay for what they did. And in doing so, he ended up becoming exactly what Itachi didn't want: a renegade ninja consumed by darkness. But here comes something important that many people don't realize. Itachi had planned even this. Yes, Itachi knew there was a chance Sasuke would discover the truth. And he left a plan B. One last gift for his brother, hidden inside Sasuke himself. Before he died, when Itachi touched Sasuke's forehead, he didn't just make a gesture of affection. He also transferred powers to Sasuke. Specifically, he implanted Amaterasu, the inextinguishable black flames, programmed to activate automatically if Sasuke encountered Obito, whom Itachi knew as Madara. Itachi didn't trust Obito. He knew the man had his own dark agenda and would likely try to manipulate Sasuke. So even after his death, Itachi still tried to protect his brother. But Itachi's protection went beyond that. He had talked to Naruto before he died. Yes, Naruto. Sasuke's best friend, the person who never gave up on him. Itachi secretly met Naruto and made a request. He used a genjutsu technique to have a private conversation with Naruto and said something that changed everything. Naruto Uzumaki, I have a request to make. Something happens to me and Sasuke finds out the truth, he will be lost. He will want revenge on the village. He will destroy himself. Please, don't let that happen. Don't let my brother fall into darkness. Naruto, confused but determined, asked, "Why are you telling me this? What's going on?" And Itachi replied, "Because I saw something in you. You are what Sasuke could have been if he had lived a different life. You know the pain of loneliness, but you chose the path of light. Please save my brother when I can no longer do so." This encounter reveals something incredible about Itachi. Even as he planned his own death, even as he knew his time was running out, he was still thinking about Sasuke. He was still creating safety nets. He was still trying to ensure his brother would have someone by his side. Because Itachi knew Sasuke couldn't carry it all alone. No one can. And if Itachi had to carry his burden alone, he would make sure Sasuke had at least one person to help him. This is the difference between Itachi and so many other characters who made sacrifices in Naruto. Itachi didn't just sacrifice himself, he planned every detail to ensure his sacrifice truly meant something. That Sasuke would have a future, even if that future didn't include Itachi. But let's talk about the weight Itachi carried all these years. Because it's one thing to make a single sacrifice, a heroic moment. It's quite another to live with the consequences of that sacrifice every day for years, without ever being able to tell the truth. Itachi lived like a criminal. He joined the Akatsuki, an organization full of assassins, renegade ninjas, people who were truly monsters. And he had to live with them, pretend to be one of them, act like they were his equal. But inside, Itachi was dying a little bit every day. The illness was eating away at his body, the guilt was eating away at his mind, and the loneliness was eating away at his soul. He had no friends. He had no one he truly trusted. Kisame, his Akatsuki partner, respected Itachi, but he didn't know the truth. No one did. Itachi was completely isolated. And every time he saw Sasuke, it was like a knife being plunged into his heart. Seeing his younger brother growing up, growing strong but consumed by hatred, the hatred Itachi himself had planted. It was torture. There was one specific moment that perfectly illustrates this. When Itachi returned to the Hidden Leaf Village with Kisame, searching for Naruto who had the Kyuubi, he encountered Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai, 3 powerful jonins who tried to fight him. Itachi easily defeated Kakashi, putting him in a Tsukuyomi that left Kakashi in a coma for days. And do you know what Itachi did next? He simply left. He could have killed everyone there. But he didn't. Because killing Konoha ninjas wasn't in his plans. He was there doing his spy work, secretly gathering information for the village, even though he was treated as a traitor. Even risking his life, even being hunted, he was still protecting Konoha from behind the scenes. This is a kind of heroism very few people can understand. Heroism without recognition. Heroism without applause. Heroism that no one will ever know happened. And there was another pivotal moment. When Danzo, the man who forced Itachi to massacre the clan, secretly attempted to attack Sasuke. Itachi found out and sent threatening messages. He made it clear, if anything happens to Sasuke, I will tell all of Konoha's secrets to the enemy villages. I will expose everything. It was the only time Itachi used his position as a traitor to actually blackmail the village. And he did it for Sasuke. Always for Sasuke. Everything in Itachi's life revolved around protecting Sasuke. Every decision, every action, every breath. Sasuke was the reason Itachi stayed alive, even when his body was begging him to give up. And here's something that will make you stick around until the end of this video because what comes next is crucial. There's a scene that shows the exact moment Itachi decided to sacrifice everything. A moment that perfectly explains who he was inside. And once you understand this moment, Itachi's entire story will make even more sense. So stick with me until the end because this revelation will completely change how you see this story. I promise it's worth it. Returning to Itachi's journey, when he was a child before all this happened he witnessed the Third Shinobi World War. He was only 4 years old when he saw battlefields littered with bodies. Dead ninjas, child soldiers, destruction everywhere. That had a profound impact on Itachi. He developed a pacifist philosophy from a young age. He understood that wars had no real winners, only losers. That violence only begets more violence. That true peace needed to be built through sacrifice and understanding. This philosophy guided Itachi throughout his life. When forced to choose between his clan and the village, he didn't choose out of blind loyalty. He chose based on a simple question: which option causes less suffering? Which option saves more lives? A civil war would kill thousands, maybe tens of thousands, and it could trigger a world war that would kill even more, versus massacring about 100 people from the Uchiha clan. It's horrible math. Math number 13-year-old should have to do. But Itachi did it. And he chose the lesser evil, even though he knew it would destroy him. This is utilitarianism taken to the extreme. Sacrificing the few to save the many. And Itachi applied this to himself as well. He sacrificed his own happiness, his own reputation, his own life so that others could live in peace. But here's the most important point. Itachi never saw himself as a hero. He saw himself as a murderer. A criminal. Someone who had done something unforgivable even if it was for the right reasons. Itachi never forgave himself for what he did. Never. Even though he knew he had saved thousands of lives, even though he knew he had prevented a war, he carried the guilt like a crushing weight every day. He knew the names of every person he killed. He remembered their faces, their voices, their last words. Everything was etched in his memory, like scars that would never heal. There's a scene in the flashbacks that shows Itachi alone after the massacre, sitting in the dark, his hands shaking. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't feeling powerful. He was broken, completely destroyed inside. And from that day on, Itachi made a decision. He would never again allow his brother to feel the pain he had felt. Sasuke would never know the weight of killing loved ones. Sasuke would never carry that guilt. Sasuke would live a normal, happy, protected life. Even if it meant Itachi would have to carry twice as much weight. Even if it meant living as the most hated man in the world. He accepted it wholeheartedly. But Itachi's loneliness was beyond words. Imagine, every day he woke up knowing his younger brother hated him. That the only person he truly loved in the world wanted to kill him. And he could do nothing to change that. Worse still, he had to feed this hatred. He had to show up occasionally, taunt Sasuke, remind the boy of the trauma, keep him obsessed with revenge. Because if Sasuke forgot, if he moved on, Itachi's plan would fail. It was a psychological torture Itachi inflicted on himself every day. And he did it consciously, knowing exactly what he was doing to his own sanity. There was one specific moment that perfectly illustrates this. When Itachi first encountered Sasuke after the massacre, in a hotel in the Hidden Leaf Village, Sasuke desperately tried to attack him. He used Chidori, his most powerful technique at the time, trying to pierce Itachi. Itachi blocked the Chidori easily. He broke Sasuke's wrist. And then, using Tsukuyami again, he mentally tortured the boy, reminding him of the massacre. Sasuke passed out from the psychological pain. But as Itachi was leaving, Jiraiya appeared and almost caught him. Itachi had to flee quickly. And as he was leaving, he looked back one last time. He looked at Sasuke unconscious on the ground. And for a split second, when no one was looking, Itachi's mask slipped. His eyes showed pure pain, regret, sadness. He wanted to go back, get Sasuke, hug his brother, apologize, tell him everything. But he couldn't. So he just turned and walked away. And put the mask back on. This was Itachi's life. Stolen moments of humanity between long hours of pretending to be a monster. His partnership with Kisame and Akatsuki is also interesting. Kisame was a brutal ninja who enjoyed fighting and killing. But he deeply respected Itachi. Because Kisame, in a way, understood what it was like to live without a place in the world. Kisame was from the Mist Village, a brutal place where ninjas killed each other until only the strongest survived. He had been used as a disposable tool by his own country. So when he met Itachi, he saw something familiar, another ninja who had been used and discarded. The two were never true friends. But there was a mutual respect there, a silent understanding. And Itachi, so alone in the world, appreciated at least having someone by his side who wouldn't judge him. Kisame once said something interesting to Itachi: "You're full of contradictions. You act like you don't care about anything, but I can see you're carrying a huge weight. "Who are you really, Itachi Uchiha?" And Itachi responded with something enigmatic. "A man is not defined by who he is, but by the choices he makes. And I've already made my choices." This answer perfectly sums up Itachi's philosophy. He didn't define himself as a hero or a villain. He defined himself by the impossible choices he had to make. And he lived with the consequences of those choices without regret, without asking for mercy. Now, let's talk about Itachi's relationship with other Akatsuki members. Even while undercover, he had to interact with some of the most dangerous criminals in the ninja world. Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki, respected Itachi for his strength and intelligence. But Pain also distrusted him. He sensed Itachi had secrets, that his loyalty was not complete. And he was right. Itachi was constantly gathering information about Akatsuki's plans and secretly sending it to Konoha through intermediaries. He was a perfect spy because no one suspected him. After all, why would a man who massacred his own clan be loyal to the village that exiled him? But Itachi was exactly that. Even rejected, even hated, even hunted as a criminal, he still protected Konoha. Because it wasn't about loyalty to the institution. It was about protecting the innocent people who lived there. It was about ensuring that children like Sasuke could grow up in peace. This kind of love isn't romantic. It's not passionate. It's a silent, sacrificial love that asks for nothing in return. It's the kind of love that hurts, that wounds, but that endures even when all is lost. And Itachi had this love not only for Sasuke but for the idea of peace itself. He genuinely believed that the cycle of hatred needed to be broken, even if he himself had to become part of that hatred to protect others. There's a ninja philosophy that says, a ninja who breaks the rules is trash. But a ninja who abandons his comrades is worse than trash. This was Obito's philosophy originally, passed down from Kakashi. But Itachi lived by an even more complex philosophy. A ninja who abandons his village is trash. But a ninja who doesn't protect his loved ones is worse than trash. And a ninja who can't do both is destined to suffer. And Itachi suffered. For years. In silence. Never complaining. Never asking for help. Because he believed he was the only one who could carry that weight. And maybe he was right. Now let's talk about something that many people don't realize. Itachi was physically ill, but he was also mentally deteriorating. Overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan was destroying his vision. Each time he used Tsukuyomi or Amaterasu, he became more blind. By the end of his life, he was almost completely blind. He fought Sasuke virtually in the dark, using only chakra sensing and muscle memory. But beyond physical blindness, Itachi was developing symptoms of severe psychological trauma. He had constant nightmares, flashbacks of the massacre, moments where he saw the faces of the people he killed. Imagine living like this. Imagine not being able to sleep because every time you close your eyes, you relive the worst night of your life. Every time. Without exception. And Itachi couldn't talk about it to anyone. He couldn't seek help. He couldn't open up. He had to swallow it all, bury it deep in his mind, and continue functioning as if he were fine. That eventually breaks a person. And it broke Itachi too. Only he didn't let anyone see it. He maintained the facade perfectly until his last breath. There's a scene that happens in the Naruto novels, which are considered canon, where Itachi is alone in a hotel room, coughing up blood, and just stares at his shaking hand. He whispers to himself, "How much longer? How much longer do I have to go on?" And then he remembers Sasuke. He remembers his brother's little face when they were children, smiling, happy. And Itachi takes a deep breath, wipes away the blood, and stands up. Until the end. I will continue until the end. This scene is devastating because it shows that even Itachi, the cold and calculating genius, had moments of weakness. Moments when he wanted to give up. But he didn't. He never gave up. Because he had promised himself he would protect Sasuke. And Itachi Uchiha never broke his promises. Itachi's illness was a degenerative lung condition, possibly exacerbated by the extreme stress he experienced. Akatsuki doctors tried to treat him, but there was no cure. It was only a matter of time. And Itachi knew it. He was literally counting down the days. Every morning he woke up, he asked himself, "Is this today? Is this the day my body will give out?" So he accelerated his plans. He provoked Sasuke more actively. He created situations that would force the boy to go after him. Because he couldn't risk dying of natural causes. Sasuke had to be the one to kill him. Itachi's meticulous planning for his own death is a testament to his absurd level of dedication. He wasn't just planning to die, he was choreographing every detail of how it would happen to ensure the best possible outcome for Sasuke. First, he chose the location, an ancient, abandoned Uchiha temple. A place with historical significance for the clan. This was no accident. Itachi wanted the final battle to take place in a place that represented the Uchiha legacy, so that when Sasuke won, it would feel as if he had restored the clan's honor. Second, he timed it perfectly. He waited until Sasuke was strong enough to have a real chance of winning, but not so strong that he could actually kill Itachi before he could complete his ultimate goal of removing Orochimaru. Third, and perhaps most impressive, he planned every move of the battle. Every jutsu he used had a dual purpose: to test Sasuke and push him to his limits, but also to drain Itachi's own chakra in a controlled manner. Because here's the secret few realize: Itachi could have easily killed Sasuke in that battle. Even sick, even nearly blind, he was still far stronger than Sasuke. But he wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to lose the right way. Every time Sasuke landed an attack, it was because Itachi allowed it. Every time Sasuke escaped a deadly technique, it was because Itachi was holding back. The entire battle was a carefully constructed illusion to make Sasuke believe he had won on his own. This is love at its deepest, most painful level. It's not the love that screams, "I love you." It's the love that whispers, "I'll let you kill me so you can live." It's the love that sacrifices not only life, but even memory, to give the other a chance at happiness. During the battle, there were moments when Itachi's mask nearly slipped. When Sasuke used techniques Itachi had taught him when they were children, you could see a flash of pride in Itachi's eyes. My little brother has grown up. He's become strong. But then he had to attack back. He had to pretend he was trying to kill Sasuke for real. He had to keep the illusion alive. There was a specific moment where Sasuke was completely vulnerable and out of chakra, and Itachi was walking toward him. Terrified, Sasuke tried to crawl away. And Itachi continued advancing, step by step, with that characteristic cold expression. But if you looked closely, you could see that Itachi's hands were shaking. Not from physical weakness but from emotional pain. Every step toward his frightened brother was tearing his heart apart. And then came the crucial moment. Orochimaru emerged from Sasuke, a giant white serpent with multiple heads, trying to devour Itachi and take over his body as well. It was the physical manifestation of everything that was wrong, of all the corruption that had tried to consume Sasuke. Itachi, using his last chakra reserves, summoned Susanoo. The final manifestation of the Mangekyo Sharingan, a gigantic spiritual entity that acts as both armor and ultimate weapon. Itachi's Susanoo was special. He wielded the Totsuka sword, an ethereal blade that could seal anything it cut into a dimension of eternal genjutsu. And he had the Yata shield, a spiritual shield that could block any attack by changing its elemental nature. With these legendary weapons, Itachi sealed Orochimaru permanently. He removed that evil influence from Sasuke forever. It was his final gift as an older brother. Cleansing. Purification. Liberation. But using Susanoo in that state was literally suicide. Itachi's body was already at its absolute limit. His organs were failing. Blood was pouring from his eyes, nose and mouth. Every second he kept Susanoo active was consuming the last of his life force. He didn't care. Because Sasuke was safe now. Orochimaru was sealed. The plan was complete. Itachi could finally rest. And then came that final moment that we've already talked about, but that deserves to be revisited with all this context. Itachi walking towards Sasuke, touching his forehead, apologizing. "I'm sorry, Sasuke, this is the last time." Those words carry so much weight when you take it all in. He was apologizing for everything. For making Sasuke suffer, for lying, for not being able to be the brother Sasuke deserved, for having to leave. But it was also saying goodbye to the gesture that had always been theirs. When they were children, whenever Sasuke asked Itachi to train with him, Itachi would touch his forehead and say, "I'm sorry, Sasuke, maybe next time." It was frustrating for Sasuke as a child, but it was also a symbol of Itachi's affection. And now, at the last moment, Itachi made that gesture one last time. But this time there was no next time. It was the end. It was the final goodbye. Sasuke was forever scarred by that touch. Years later, even after discovering the truth, even after fighting in the Fourth Shinobi World War, he still felt that phantom touch on his forehead. It was the last physical connection he had with Itachi. Now, let's talk about something that happened after Itachi's death, but that he had planned. Sasuke's interaction with Naruto. Itachi had talked to Naruto and asked him to save Sasuke. But what's incredible is that Itachi had given Naruto something more, a portion of his own power. In a secret meeting before the final battle, Itachi had transferred some of his chakra to Naruto, along with some of his Sharingan techniques. This would automatically activate if Sasuke attempted to attack the Hidden Leaf Village. It was a final layer of protection. Because Itachi knew Sasuke better than anyone. He knew there was a chance that, upon learning the truth, Sasuke would become so consumed with rage that he would try to destroy Konoha. And Itachi couldn't allow that. He couldn't let Sasuke become a true criminal, a true villain. So he created a safeguard. If Sasuke did try to attack the village, Naruto would have the tools to stop him. But not just stop him. Save him. Because Itachi trusted Naruto. He saw in Naruto the same stubborn determination he had, but directed toward the light instead of the darkness. Itachi recognized in Naruto someone who would never give up on a friend no matter what. And he staked Sasuke's future on that friendship. That bet proved correct. Because it was Naruto who eventually brought Sasuke back. It was Naruto who showed Sasuke that he didn't have to carry everything alone. It was Naruto who broke the cycle of hatred that had consumed generations of Uchihas. And all of this was possible because Itachi planted the right seeds in the right places. He orchestrated events even after his death. He was the invisible conductor of a symphony of redemption that would only be completed years after his departure. There's a scene in the Fourth Shinobi World War where Itachi is temporarily resurrected through Edo Tensei, a forbidden resurrection technique. He then encounters Naruto and B. During this encounter, Itachi has a conversation with Naruto where he can finally express his gratitude. "Thank you for taking care of Sasuke. Thank you for not giving up on him. I knew I could trust you." Naruto, moved, replies, "I didn't do anything special. Sasuke is my friend. That's what friends do." And Itachi smiles. A genuine smile, not the cold mask he always wore. "You're exactly how I imagined you. Sasuke is lucky to have you." This interaction is beautiful because it shows Itachi finally being able to be himself, even if only for a few moments. Not the spy, not the villain, not the cruel brother. Just Itachi, a young man who made the best of an impossible situation. During the war, Itachi also helps defeat Kabuto, the ninja who was controlling the Edo Tensei and resurrecting the dead. And the way Itachi does this is significant. He doesn't kill Kabuto. Instead, he traps him in a special genjutsu called Izanami, which forces the person to relive the same time loop until they accept their own destiny and their own flaws. It's a technique that perfectly reflects Itachi's philosophy. He didn't believe in simply killing enemies. He believed in making them understand, in breaking cycles, in forcing change through understanding. The battle against Kabuto revealed something profound about who Itachi truly was deep down. During the fight, Kabuto screamed about how he had no identity, how he was just a tool used by others, how no one accepted him for who he was. And Itachi, of all people, understood perfectly. Because he had been exactly that, a tool. Used by Konoha, used by Danzo, sacrificed for the greater good, without ever having a real choice. But the difference was that Itachi had found peace in his role. He had chosen to define his own purpose within that tool. "You don't have to be defined by what others have made of you," Itachi told Kabuto. "You can choose who you are, even within the limitations imposed on you." It was a lesson Itachi had learned the hard way. And now he was passing that wisdom on. After defeating Kabuto, Itachi had one last encounter with Sasuke before his soul departed for good. And this encounter is probably the most important of all. Sasuke was confused, lost, still consumed by rage against the village. And Itachi did something he had never done before. He was completely honest. "Sasuke, I failed you. I thought I could control everything, plan everything, secure your future alone. But I was wrong. I put you on a dark path trying to protect you from the darkness. I made the same mistakes our clan made." Sasuke was shocked. It was the first time he had heard Itachi admit failure, admit a mistake, show real vulnerability. Itachi continued, "You don't have to do things my way. You don't have to carry my burdens. You don't have to avenge me or honor my memory by sacrificing your own happiness. Be yourself, Sasuke. Find your own path." And then, for the first time since they were kids, Itachi hugged Sasuke. He didn't touch his forehead. He hugged him. Like a real brother. Like the person he always wanted to be but never could. "I will always love you no matter what path you choose. And I will always be proud of you. You don't need my approval. You never have. You've always been amazing in your own way." Those words broke Sasuke in a way no battle, no revelation, no previous trauma had. Because they were the words he'd needed to hear his entire life. The validation he'd always sought. The unconditional love he'd always wanted, but thought he'd lost that terrible night. Sasuke cried. Really cried. And Itachi, holding his brother, cried too. Silent tears streamed from his eyes as his ethereal form began to dissipate. "No matter what happens from now on," Itachi whispered, "you are not alone. You have friends. You have people who care about you. Don't make my mistake of carrying everything alone. Let people in. Let them help you. And then with one last smile, Itachi was gone. This time forever. No more resurrections, no more tricks, no more secret plans. Just peace. His soul could finally rest. And for the first time since that terrible night so many years ago, Itachi no longer carried any weight. No longer had any responsibility. No longer had any guilt to carry. He had done everything he could. He had protected Sasuke until the end. He had given his brother the tools to find his own path. And now, finally, he could leave in peace. Itachi's impact on Sasuke's life is incalculable. Even years after the war, even after Sasuke had found redemption and even formed his own family, he still thought of Itachi every day. When Sasuke had his daughter, he named her Sarada. And you know what's interesting? Sarada begins with Sara, which in Japanese can mean renewal or new beginning. It was Sasuke symbolically saying, I am starting over. I am breaking the cycle of hatred that has consumed my family for generations. And when Sarada first developed the Sharingan, it wasn't through trauma or hatred as was traditional for Uchihas. It was through love. Through her connection with her father and the desire to understand him. This was revolutionary. Because it showed that the Sharingan didn't need to be activated by loss and pain. It could be activated by love and connection. It was proof that the cycle had been broken. And it all goes back to Itachi. Because it was Itachi's sacrifice that allowed Sasuke to eventually find this path. It was Itachi's pain that saved Sasuke from eternal pain. It was Itachi's darkness that allowed Sasuke to find the light. There's a beautiful scene in Boruto, the sequel to Naruto, where Sasuke is teaching his daughter, and she asks about the Uchiha clan symbol he carries. Sasuke explains, this is our clan's symbol. It represents a fan used to feed flames. The Uchiha have always been associated with fire, with passion, with intensity. But fire can heat or burn. It can create or destroy. Sarada asks, and you? What do you use your fire for? Sasuke smiles slightly and replies, I use it to protect. To light the way for those I love. Just like someone very special did for me even if I didn't know it at the time. He was talking about Itachi, of course. Even without saying his name, he was honoring his brother's memory in the only way that mattered. By living the way Itachi had wanted. Protecting people. Breaking cycles of hatred. Being a good father, something Itachi never had the chance to be. Itachi's influence extended beyond just Sasuke as well. It affected Naruto deeply. Naruto, who had spoken to Itachi and received that desperate plea, never forgot it. When Naruto became Hokage, one of the first things he did was officially review Itachi's status. He couldn't publicly reveal the whole truth. Some secrets still needed to be kept for political reasons, but he made sure that in the confidential records, Itachi was listed as a hero, not a traitor. Naruto also created a secret memorial for Itachi, a place where he could go and thank the man who had sacrificed everything. A place where he could say, I kept my promise. I saved Sasuke. May you rest in peace. And when Naruto had children of his own, he told them about Itachi. Not the gory details, not the trauma, but the essential lesson. Sometimes the true heroes are the ones who never receive recognition. The ones who do the right thing even when no one is looking. The ones who sacrifice everything without expecting anything in return. Boruto, Naruto's son, once asked, Dad, what is a real ninja? And Naruto replied, a true ninja is someone who protects those he loves no matter the cost. Someone who carries his responsibilities without complaint. Someone who makes sacrifices no one will ever know. I met someone like that once. He taught me what it truly means to be a hero. This is the true measure of Itachi's impact. Not in the battles he won, not in the power he wielded, but in the lives he touched. In the lessons he taught. In the cycles he broke. Itachi's story also raises deep philosophical questions about morality, sacrifice, and the concept of heroism. Did he do the right thing? Is it possible to kill 100 people to save 1,000? Where do we draw the line between necessary sacrifice and atrocity? There are no easy answers. And that's the beauty of Itachi's story. It doesn't try to provide simple answers. It presents an impossible situation and shows a human being trying to navigate it as best he can. Some argue that Itachi should have found another path. That he should have refused the mission, fought against Konoha, and exposed Danzo's corruption. But these people don't understand the real situation. Itachi was a 13-year-old boy being manipulated by experienced political masters. He had no power to change the system. All he could do was choose from the terrible options presented to him. And among those options he chose the one that saved the most lives and protected the person he loved most. It was an impossible choice made by someone who shouldn't have to make such choices. The real failure wasn't Itachi's. It was the systems which put a child in that position. It was the adults who should have protected him but instead used him as a tool. Man, if this story is touching your heart like it's touching mine, you need to subscribe to this channel now. What? Because there are dozens of stories like this, stories of sacrifice, of impossible love, of heroes no one recognizes, waiting to be told. And I don't want you to miss any of them. Every video here is made with the same care and dedication you're seeing now. We delve deep into the emotions, the details everyone misses, the truths that make you see the characters in a completely different way. So hit that red subscribe button now. And activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Because I guarantee you'll want to follow every story we bring you here. And if you like this content, leave a like too. It helps me so much to keep making videos like this for you. Let's continue this journey together? Then sign up and let's go. Itachi Uchiha is undoubtedly one of the most complex and well-written characters not only in Naruto, but in the entire world of anime and manga. And the reason for this is simple: he is deeply human. He's not a perfect hero who always does the right thing. He's not a pure villain acting out of malice. He's someone caught between impossibilities, doing the best he can with the terrible options he has. And this resonates with people because in real life that's how things work. We rarely have clear choices between right and wrong. Usually we have choices between bad and worse, and we have to live with the consequences of our choices. Itachi lived with these consequences every day. And he never tried to justify himself, never tried to redeem himself in the eyes of others, never asked for public forgiveness. He simply bore his burden in silence and did what he believed was necessary. This quiet strength is something many people admire. In a world where everyone wants recognition, where everyone wants credit for their work, Itachi was the complete opposite. He gave his all and received nothing in return. Literally nothing. Only hatred and rejection. But here's something many people don't realize. Itachi didn't want recognition. He actively rejected the idea of being seen as a hero. When he was resurrected during the war, he had the chance to tell his story, to clear his name, to let the world know the truth. But he didn't. He made it clear that he didn't care what people thought of him. "I don't need forgiveness," he said. "I don't deserve forgiveness. I killed innocent people. The fact that I did it to save others doesn't erase the blood on my hands." This self-awareness is extraordinary. Itachi understood that good intentions don't justify all means. He knew he had crossed lines that cannot be uncrossed. And he accepted that. But at the same time, he didn't let it paralyze him. He didn't give in to despair or nihilism. He kept working to protect those he loved, even though he knew he was tainted, broken, and beyond redemption. This is courage of a very specific kind. It's not the courage of a movie hero who gives inspiring speeches. It's the courage of someone who keeps functioning even when they're completely broken inside. There's a famous quote that says, "True heroes are not measured by the scale of their strength, but by the strength of their heart." And Itachi exemplifies this perfectly. He wasn't the strongest ninja in the world. There were people more powerful. But his heart, his dedication, his ability to love unconditionally even through unimaginable pain, that was unmatched. The relationship between Itachi and Shisui Uchiha, his best friend, is also crucial to understanding who he was. Shisui was like an older brother to Itachi, a mentor and confidant. Shisui believed deeply in peace and was trying to prevent the Uchiha clan's coup using his Mangekyo Sharingan, which had the ability to manipulate minds without the person's awareness. He planned to use it on the clan leader to make him abandon the coup. But Danzo, suspicious of this, attacked Shisui and stole one of his eyes. Shisui, gravely injured and knowing he could not complete his mission, gave his other eye to Itachi and committed suicide by jumping off a cliff. But before he died, he said something crucial to Itachi: "You are the only person I can trust. Protect the village. Protect our clan. Find a path that I couldn't find." This responsibility was placed on the shoulders of Itachi, who was only 12 years old at the time. And Shisui's death was what activated Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan, activated not by hatred, but by profound sadness and loss. Shisui's death also solidified Itachi's philosophy. He saw his best friend, a true pacifist, murdered by someone from his own village simply because he was trying to find a peaceful solution. This showed Itachi that the system was irreparably broken. That good people like Shisui would always be sacrificed for the political games of people like Danzo. And that perhaps the only way was to become the sacrifice himself, to protect others from having to do what he did. So when the order came to massacre the clan, Itachi was already mentally prepared. Not because he wanted to do it, but because he had already accepted that his role in the world was to carry the darkness so that others could live in the light. It's a philosophy that's both tragic and beautifully selfless. He willingly became darkness so that Sasuke, Shisui, in memory, and countless others could have a chance at a normal life. Now let's talk about something that many people debate. Did Itachi love the Uchiha clan? The answer is yes, deeply. But he loved Sasuke more. And when forced to choose, he chose Sasuke. It would always be Sasuke. But that doesn't mean slaughtering the clan was easy or that he didn't care. It means that, in an impossible situation, he prioritized the life of an innocent person, Sasuke, over the lives of people who were actively planning a civil war that would kill thousands. It was brutal math, but it was the math he had to do. And after making that choice, Itachi lived with the guilt every day. He never forgave himself. He never found peace in his life. Peace only came when he could finally die, knowing Sasuke was safe. Itachi's dichotomy is fascinating. He was simultaneously the kindest brother and the coldest killer. He was capable of acts of extreme love and extreme violence, often for the same reason. When he tortured Sasuke with Tsukuyomi, it was for love. When he pretended to be a monster, it was for love. When he joined the Akatsuki and did terrible things, it was for love. It always came back to love. A love so intense that it became destructive, not to Sasuke but to Itachi himself. He has a psychological theory that says people who experience extreme trauma sometimes develop a heightened capacity for empathy and sacrifice. It's as if the pain makes them more aware of the suffering of others and more willing to do anything to prevent it. Itachi definitely fits this mold. After witnessing the horrors of war as a child, after losing Shisui, after slaughtering his own clan, he developed an almost superhuman capacity for sacrifice. But this also meant he was constantly hurting himself. He was constantly putting others first to an unhealthy degree. And eventually it destroyed him. The lesson here isn't that we should sacrifice ourselves to the point of death. The lesson is more nuanced. There's a balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. And Itachi never found that balance. He went to the extreme of self-sacrifice. And while this is admirable in some ways, it's also a tragedy. Because imagine what Itachi could have done if he'd had support, if he'd had people to share his burden, if he'd been allowed to be human and not just a tool. Maybe he could have found a better path. Maybe he could have lived a longer life. Maybe he could have been truly happy. But the world never gave him that chance. And Itachi, being who he was, accepted it without question. Because to him, his own suffering was a small price to pay for Sasuke's safety. Itachi's influence can also be seen in how other characters evolve. Sasuke, obviously, but also Naruto, Kakashi, and even enemies like Nagato, Pain. Each of them learned something from Itachi or his story. About sacrifice, about forgiveness, about how hatred perpetuates itself through generations, about how to break these cycles. Kakashi, who had already lost everyone he loved, saw in Itachi a reflection of himself. Someone who carried survivor's guilt, who constantly punished himself for being alive while others died. And through observing Itachi, Kakashi eventually learned that carrying guilt forever doesn't honor the dead. What honors them is living well, protecting the living, and building a better future. Naruto learned from Itachi that true heroism isn't about glory or recognition. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching, even when no one will thank you. And Sasuke learned the most important lesson of all, that you don't have to carry everything alone. That asking for help isn't weakness. That letting people into your life isn't danger, it's salvation. These lessons spread like waves through the ninja world, changing people, changing systems, changing mindsets. Itachi Uchiha's legacy transcended his own life in ways he never could have imagined. He thought he would be remembered only as a traitor, a clan slayer, a criminal. But the truth, even though known by few, fundamentally changed how the ninja world viewed sacrifice and loyalty. Let's talk about something rarely discussed: the psychological impact Itachi had on an entire generation of ninja. Even those who didn't know the full truth were affected by his story. Young ninjas saw Itachi's case as a warning: see what happens when you put power above family. But those who knew the truth saw something completely different: see what happens when the system fails to protect its own children. This duality sparked important conversations in ninja academies. Teachers began teaching not only combat techniques but also philosophy, ethics, and the importance of questioning orders when they violate fundamental principles of humanity. Itachi unwittingly became a case study. Not in the be like Itachi sense, but in the understand the impossible choices ninjas can face and think about how you would react sense. Tsunade, as Hokage, implemented specific reforms inspired by Itachi's case. She created a supervisory council to ensure that never again would such a brutal mission be given to such a young ninja. That never again would a child be forced to make life or death choices on such a massive scale. These reforms couldn't undo what had been done, but they could prevent future tragedies. And in a way, Itachi continued to save lives even after his death. Itachi's relationship with his parents, Fugaku and Mikoto, also deserves deeper analysis. They were complex people trapped in an impossible situation. Fugaku was the leader of the Uchiha clan, a proud man who wanted to restore his clan's honor and status. He loved his children, but he also felt the burden of leading an entire people who felt discriminated against and marginalized. When Fugaku planned the coup, it wasn't out of greed for power, but because he genuinely believed it was the only way his people would be treated with dignity. He was wrong, of course. A civil war wouldn't have solved anything. But his intentions, like Itachi's, were to protect those he loved. Mikoto, the mother, was gentler and more peaceful. She didn't want the coup, she didn't want violence. But she also had no power to stop her husband or the clan. She was caught between supporting her family and doing what she thought was right. When Itachi arrived that fateful night, Fugaku and Mikoto already knew what was coming. They had discovered that Itachi had been forced to choose. And instead of fighting, instead of trying to escape or turn Itachi against the village, they did something extraordinary. They accepted death to free Itachi from at least some of the blame. Think about it. They knew that if they fought, if they forced Itachi to actually battle them, it would completely destroy their son. So they didn't fight. They knelt and allowed Itachi to do what he needed to do in the least traumatic way possible. It was a final act of parental love. We failed to create a world where you didn't have to do this. So at least let's make this part a little less painful for you. Fugaku, in his last moments, looked at Itachi with tearful eyes and said, "You've always been different, Itachi. You see beyond the clan, beyond the village, beyond even the nation. You see all of humanity. I should have listened to you more. I should have been more like you." And Mikoto, holding Fugaku's hand, said, "We are proud of you no matter what. You will carry a terrible burden, but you are strong enough. And Sasuke, take care of him. He is still so small, so innocent. Let him stay that way as long as he can." Those were the last words Itachi heard from his parents. And they were etched in his soul forever. Years later, when Sasuke learned the full truth, he also learned about this final moment. And it changed how he viewed not only Itachi but also his own parents. They weren't perfect. They had made mistakes. But in the end, they had tried to do the best for their children under the impossible circumstances they faced. This realization helped Sasuke forgive. Not just Itachi but the entire situation. He understood that there were no simple villains in this story. Just imperfect people making impossible choices. Now let's talk about an aspect of Itachi that is often overlooked. His absurd strategic intelligence. Itachi wasn't just strong, he was brilliant. A genius among geniuses. He had planned events years in advance, created contingencies for contingencies, manipulated situations so subtly that even the most intelligent people missed it. For example, when Itachi joined Akatsuki, he didn't just join. He strategically positioned himself as Kisame's partner, one of the most loyal members and least likely to question orders. He systematically collected information about each member of the organization, their strengths, weaknesses, and goals. He secretly sent it all to Konoha through intermediaries who didn't even know who they were working for. He created at least 3 different plans to protect Sasuke if something went wrong. The power transferred to Naruto, the techniques implanted in Sasuke, and even secret arrangements with other powerful ninjas who were in debt to him. Itachi played multidimensional chess while everyone else was playing checkers. And he made it look easy. But here's the interesting thing. This intelligence was also a curse. Because Itachi saw every possible outcome, every consequence, every potential future. And this meant he could never rest mentally. His mind was constantly calculating, planning, worrying. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? How can I protect Sasuke from this threat? How can I prevent that scenario? It was exhausting. And it contributed to his mental and physical deterioration. His body was sick, but his mind was equally overwhelmed. There's a scene in the novels where Itachi is taking his medicine, and he has a moment of clarity. He thinks, "I envy ordinary people. People who can simply live without calculating every move. People who can sleep without dreaming of 1,000 different futures." This shows that beneath his cold, calculating nature, there was a boy who just wanted peace. Who just wanted to rest. Who just wanted to avoid being responsible for the fate of so many people. But he never had that option. So he kept going. He kept going until he couldn't anymore. Itachi's illness is also symbolically important. It was a lung disease affecting his breathing. And breath, in many philosophical and spiritual traditions, represents life, presence, and being. So symbolically, Itachi was losing his ability to be. He was gradually losing his own life, suffocating under the weight of his choices and secrets. And he let it happen. He could have sought better treatment, he could have tried to prolong his life. But he didn't. Because deep down he wanted it to end. Not suicidal in the traditional sense, but in the sense that he was tired. So tired. And death represented finally being able to rest. That's why he hastened the confrontation with Sasuke. He wasn't just ensuring Sasuke got his revenge. He was also ensuring he himself could finally stop. It is tragically beautiful and beautifully tragic at the same time. Itachi's relationship with the concept of truth is also fascinating. He lived in lies for years, but they were lies created to protect a greater truth. The lie was, I am a monster who killed for power. The truth was, I am someone who killed to save you and thousands of others. But Itachi believed the lie was necessary. That Sasuke needed it to grow, to survive, to have purpose. This raises interesting philosophical questions. Is it ethical to lie if the lie protects someone? Is a lie that brings peace better than a truth that brings destruction? Itachi clearly believed that, yes, lies could be necessary. But he also carried the guilt of those lies. Because he knew he was manipulating Sasuke, even if it was for the greater good. It was yet another layer of moral complexity in an already impossible situation. One of the most powerful things about Itachi's story is how it resonates with universal human experiences, even in a context of ninjas and supernatural powers. How many people in the real world carry secrets they can't share? How many make sacrifices no one will ever know? How many hurt themselves to protect the people they love? Itachi's story, while extreme, touches on these universal themes. And that's why people connect so deeply with it, even years after Naruto's ending. There's something deeply human about doing what's right even when it hurts. About protecting someone even when they hate you. About loving unconditionally even when it's not reciprocated. Itachi embodies all these themes in a pure and concentrated form. He's like a lens that magnifies these human experiences until they become impossible to ignore. And perhaps that's why so many people cry when they learn the truth about him. It's not just about a fictional character. It's about recognizing those same pains, those same sacrifices, those same impossible choices in their own lives or in the lives of people they know. Let's talk about something specific, the concept of the unsung hero that Itachi represents. In our society, we're obsessed with recognition. Social media, likes, views, followers, it's all about being seen, being recognized, being validated. But Itachi did the extreme opposite. Not only did he not seek recognition, he actively worked to be hated, to be vilified, to be remembered as something terrible. And he did it deliberately. Because his recognition would destroy Sasuke. It would destroy the plan. It would destroy everything he had sacrificed for. So he chose anonymity worse than death. He chose infamy. And he continued his heroic work in secret, knowing that he would never, ever be thanked for it. This requires a level of strength of character that is almost incomprehensible. Because the human need for validation is deep, it's biological, it's part of who we are. And Itachi completely suppressed that need. Or rather, he redirected it. His validation came not from external recognition, but from knowing internally that he was protecting Sasuke. That was enough for him. Or at least he convinced himself it was enough. Because in the most intimate scenes, in the cracks in his armor, you could see that he hurt. That he wanted to be understood. That he wanted at least one person to know the truth. But he never allowed that desire to dictate his actions. He always put the mission first. He always put Sasuke first. Always. Itachi's relationship with the concept of fate is another interesting theme. The Uchiha had a history of curses. The curse of hatred that Tobirama, the second Hokage, had identified. The idea was that the Uchiha loved so deeply that when they lost something or someone, that love turned into equally deep hatred. And this hatred consumed them, making them unstable, dangerous. Madara Uchiha was the perfect example of this. He loved his brother Izuna deeply, and when Izuna died, Madara transformed into something dark and vengeful. Sasuke was following the same path. He loved Itachi, and when he lost him, that love turned into a consuming hatred that nearly destroyed Sasuke completely. But Itachi? Itachi was different. He loved deeply, he loved Shisui, he loved his parents, he loved his clan, and most of all he loved Sasuke. And he lost them all. By all rights, by the curse of hatred, Itachi should have become a true monster. He should have been consumed by rage and revenge. But he wasn't. Instead, he transformed that love into something else. Into protection, into sacrifice, into determination. He broke the curse through sheer force of will. And in the end, he passed this lesson on to Sasuke. He showed that the Uchiha's love didn't have to turn into hate. It could remain love even through loss and pain. This was perhaps Itachi's greatest victory, not defeating enemies, not completing missions, but breaking a cycle that had consumed generations of Uchiha. He proved they could be different. Now let's talk about something more personal. Why does Itachi's story affect people so emotionally? Part of it is the twist. The revelation that the villain was actually the hero all along is powerful. But it's more than that. It's the specific nature of his sacrifice that cuts so deeply. He didn't just die heroically in a moment. He lived agonizingly for years. Every day was a sacrifice. Every interaction with Sasuke was a knife to the heart. And we, as an audience, feel this because we watched Sasuke grow up hating Itachi. We saw Sasuke's suffering. And then when we discovered that Itachi was suffering even more all the time, that every moment of Sasuke's pain was multiplied tenfold in Itachi's, it's devastating. It's like watching a movie a second time and noticing all the signs you missed. Every look Itachi gives off takes on new meaning. Every word carries a different weight. People revisit old scenes of Itachi after learning the truth and cry because they now understand what was happening behind that cold mask. They see the hidden pain, the unspoken love, the silent sacrifice. It's a unique emotional experience that few characters can provide. Itachi also represents something that many people wish they could do but are afraid to do. Protecting someone completely, without selfishness, without expectations. How many of us would love to be able to sacrifice everything for someone we love? But when we really think about it, about the real price, about how much it hurts, it's scary. Itachi did this. And he showed exactly how much it costs. He didn't romanticize sacrifice. He showed that it's brutal, lonely, painful, and that it tears you apart inside. But it also showed that it was still worth it. Because in the end, Sasuke survived. Sasuke grew up. Sasuke eventually found happiness. And for Itachi that was enough. Even if he would never see that happiness. Even if he died believing Sasuke would always hate him. The mere possibility of Sasuke having a good life was enough for Itachi to keep going. This is love. Real, pure, unselfish love. And it's rare to see it portrayed so honestly and rawly. There's a specific moment that perfectly exemplifies who Itachi was. During the Fourth Shinobi World War, when he's helping defeat Kabuto, Sasuke is fighting alongside him. And Sasuke asks, "Why did you do all this? Why did you sacrifice yourself like this?" Itachi could have given a deep, philosophical answer about duty and peace and the greater good. But he didn't. He simply looked at Sasuke and said, "Because you're my little brother. And I love you. I always have." It was that simple. It wasn't about complicated philosophy. It wasn't about politics or strategy. It was about pure brotherly love. The kind of love an older brother has for his younger brother. The kind of love that says, "I will protect you from the whole world even if it means protecting you from myself." This simplicity amidst so much complexity is beautiful. Because in the end, all the layers of conspiracy, all the political games, all the intricate strategies, it all boiled down to one thing. Itachi loved Sasuke. And everything else was just a consequence of that. This also shows that the purest motives can lead to the most complicated actions. Itachi wasn't complicated because he wanted to be. He was complicated because the situation forced him to be. In his heart it was simple, protect his little brother. But the world around him was complex, brutal, full of politics, war and hatred. So Itachi had to become complex too to navigate it. But he never lost sight of the simple reason at the heart of it all. And when he had the chance in his final moments, he returned to that simplicity. "I love you. I've always loved you." So, what can we learn from Itachi Uchiha? What's the real message behind this devastating story of sacrifice and love? First, we learn that true heroism is rarely recognized. True heroes are those who do the right thing even when no one is looking, even when they'll be hated for it, even when they'll never get a thank you. Itachi never had a parade in his honor. He never had statues erected in his name. He never had children dreaming of being like him. But he saved more lives than most recognized heroes. This begs the question, how many Itachis are there in the real world? How many people make silent sacrifices we'll never know about? How many carry invisible burdens so others can live more lightly? The answer is probably more than we realize. And maybe, just maybe, we should be more aware of this. More grateful for the things we don't see. More respectful of sacrifices we don't fully understand. Second, we learn about the destructive power of carrying everything alone. Itachi was incredibly strong, But even he was broken by the weight of his secrets. He could have shared it with someone. He could have confided in Hiruzen, the third Hokage who respected him. He could have found a confidant, someone to share the burden with. But he chose not to, and it slowly destroyed him. The lesson here isn't to be like Itachi. The lesson is to recognize that even the strongest need support. That sharing pain isn't weakness, it's survival. That you don't have to carry it all alone even if you feel you must. This was the crucial difference between Itachi and Sasuke in the end. Sasuke learned to accept help. He learned to trust Naruto, Sakura, and his friends. And this saved him from following the same self-destructive path Itachi took. Third, we learned that true love sometimes means letting go. It means accepting that the person you love may hate you, may never understand, may never forgive. And yet, you continue to protect them. Itachi loved Sasuke enough to be hated by him. To be the figure Sasuke needed to hate to grow, to survive, to have purpose. This is a kind of love that goes beyond selfishness. It's a love that doesn't demand reciprocity. That doesn't expect gratitude. That simply exists, pure and unconditional. How many of us are capable of that kind of love? Honestly, probably few. And that's okay. Itachi was exceptional, even in a world of supernatural ninjas. We don't need to be like him. But we can aspire to love more selflessly. To sometimes put the needs of those we love above our own ego. To make sacrifices, even small ones, without expecting recognition. Fourth, we learn about the flaws of systems that use people as tools. The real tragedy wasn't Itachi having to make an impossible choice. It was the fact that responsible adults put a child in that position. Danzo, the elders, even Hiruzen to some extent, they all failed to protect Itachi. They all used him because it was convenient, because he was strong enough to carry the weight. And this happens in the real world too. Systems, whether governments, corporations, or even families, sometimes use the strongest, most capable, and most dedicated people. They place impossible burdens on them because they can handle it. But just because someone can carry a weight doesn't mean they should. And it certainly doesn't mean they should carry it alone. The lesson here is systematic. We need to create structures that protect even the strongest among us. That distribute responsibilities fairly. That don't sacrifice individuals for the greater good unnecessarily. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, we learned the importance of breaking cycles of hate. The Uchiha curse was real, not as magic but as a behavioral pattern. Generations of Uchiha were consumed by hatred after loss. Madara, Obito, almost Sasuke. The pattern repeated itself. But Itachi consciously broke that cycle. He turned his love into protection instead of letting it turn to hatred. And through his sacrifice he gave Sasuke the tools to break the cycle as well. Today, Sasuke is a present father when he's not on missions, a devoted husband and a protector of peace. He's not consumed by hatred. He's found balance. And this was only possible because Itachi paid the price first. Because Itachi took the hatred that could have been Sasuke's and turned it into something else. In the real world, we've all seen cycles of hatred. Families where hurt is passed down from generation to generation. Communities divided by long-standing conflicts. Nations locked in endless wars. And someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to say, no, this stops here. Someone has to absorb the pain and not pass it on. It's difficult. It's painful. It might even be unfair that this responsibility falls on someone else. But someone has to do it or the cycle will never end. Itachi did this for the Uchiha clan, for the ninja world, and especially for Sasuke. Now, after everything we've talked about, after diving so deeply into this story, do you understand why Itachi Uchiha is considered one of the best-written characters of all time? It's not because he was strong. It's not because he had cool techniques. It's because he was deeply, painfully, beautifully human. He made mistakes. He suffered. He doubted. But he kept going. He loved through it all. He protected even when it cost him everything. And in the end, when his soul could finally rest, he had no regrets about protecting Sasuke. Perhaps regrets about his methods, about the pain he caused, about the price he paid. But not about love. Never about love. Because love was the only pure thing in a completely corrupt situation. It was the light in the midst of total darkness. It was the reason it was all worth it. The last time we saw Itachi during the war, he was smiling. Really smiling. Because he could finally leave knowing that Sasuke was safe, that he had friends, that he had a future. I will always love you no matter what, were his last true words. And then he was gone, finally at peace. And Sasuke, crying, whispered back, I love you too, bro. I understand now. Thank you, for everything. It was too late for Itachi to hear. But somehow you feel like he knew. That he always knew. Because this had been the plan all along. Not to make Sasuke understand immediately, but to make Sasuke eventually understand. When he was ready. When he was strong enough to carry the truth. And Sasuke got there. It took years, it took war, it took pain. But he got there. And now, Sasuke lives not only for himself, but honoring Itachi's memory. Living the kind of life Itachi wanted for him. Protecting others the way Itachi protected him. Itachi's legacy lives on through Sasuke, through Sarada, through everyone who was touched by his story. And perhaps that's the ultimate lesson. We live through those we touch. Through the lives we change. Through the love we give. Itachi died young, sick, alone. But he lives on forever through the impact he had. Through Sasuke laughing with his daughter. Through Naruto protecting the village. Through an entire generation of ninjas who learned that true heroism doesn't need recognition. This is Itachi Uchiha's true power. Not the Sharingan. Not Susanoo. Not the forbidden techniques. But love. The love that transcends death, transcends hate, transcends even understanding. The love that simply exists. Forever. So, are you emotionally devastated like I am? This Itachi story is heartbreaking, isn't it? But you know what's amazing? Naruto is full of stories like this. Stories of sacrifice, of redemption, of characters you think you understand, but you don't understand anything until you find out the whole truth. For example, do you know the real story of Pain? The Akatsuki leader? The truth behind him will leave you as moved as Itachi's. Or how about discovering Gaara's past, and how he was even more traumatized than Sasuke? And there's more. Kakashi also has a devastating story of loss and sacrifice that very few people fully understand. I've prepared full videos about each of these characters, with the same level of depth and emotion you just saw here. And I guarantee you won't be able to stop watching. So click on the video that's appearing on your screen now. I especially recommend Pain's story. It will make you question everything about right and wrong. It will make you cry as much as Itachi's. Maybe even more. Don't waste time. Click now and continue this emotional journey with me. You won't regret it. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now. Because there are many more incredible stories coming. See you in the next video. And get your tissues ready because we're going to cry together again. Thanks for sticking with me this far on this incredible journey through Itachi's story. See you soon.